Good morning and welcome to episode 25 of The Daily Light. Today I want to talk to you about a story that used to get me so upset until I learned to understand it better, and that's the story of the prodigal son. If you're not familiar with the story, it's a parable in which Jesus talks about the father's mercy. In it, a father has two sons. One of them is that great son, always by his father's side. The father wouldn't even need to ask him for anything. He was just always there doing what he was supposed to do. And then the other son actually asked him for his inheritance and went and wasted all the money on loose women and gambling. And to add insult to injury, during that time, if someone asked for their father's inheritance, that's kind of saying, I don't care if you die, just give me my money, I'm gonna go. So that's exactly what happened. Now that other son, the one that spent the money, was starving, but he was too ashamed to go back to his father's house until one day he said to himself that even his father's slaves eat better than he was eating out on the streets. So he decided to come home and ask for mercy to be treated as one of those slaves. But here's what happens in the Gospel of Luke when the father sees his son coming back. He was still a long way off when his father caught sight of him. His father was so deeply moved with compassion that he ran out to meet him, threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. The son said, "Father, I have sinned against God and before you. I no longer deserve to be called your son." But the father turned to his servants. "Quick, bring out the finest robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his fingers and sandals on his feet. Take the fattened calf and kill it. We shall celebrate and have a feast. For this son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is found," and the celebration begins. Wow, I'm getting like goosebumps and tears. So that's kind of the reason why it used to get me upset, because I'm talking to all you A-type personalities out there. I'm always the type to do the right thing, to always do what my parents wanted. So when I read the story and I think to myself, but wait a second, that's not fair. Like, that kid deserves to be punished. He insulted his father, he spent all the money, and then he thinks he could just come back and everything's gonna be fine. Like, the father puts the finest robes on him, puts a ring on his finger, kills the fattened calf, and during that time, that was like the prized possession, only held for like big feasts. So the father does all of it without even saying, like, let me punish you first. Because that's what I would have wanted my parents to do. But no, the reason I teared up and got goosebumps is because on the flip side, we're all sinners. None of us is perfect. So Jesus used this parable to tell us that that's how God is with us when we sin and we ask for forgiveness. He doesn't have that record of wrongs to hold against us. This father just saw that his son was back, and he knew that for him to be back, it's because he felt repentance in his heart. He was suffering, and those were the first words out of his mouth. Like, I don't deserve to be called your son. And when we approach God in that way, God opens his arms wide to us and accepts us. No questions asked, just come home, my child. That's the type of father that we have. And for you A-type personality people like me, the older son was upset. He's like, that's not fair. I've always been with you, and you've never done this for me. You've never told me throw a feast for your friends and I'll give you the fattened calf. But here's what the father says to him. My son, you're always with me. Everything I have is yours. But this brother of yours was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is found. And for that, we have to celebrate and rejoice. So in our Father's house, there is room for all of us. There's room for those of us that are always doing the right thing and doing the best we can. There's room for those of us that have sinned and have messed up and need that forgiveness. And how good is our Father in heaven that no matter where we are, as soon as we want to come home, he opens his arms wide to us. That's the Father that we serve. And for that, we should always want to be home. Always. Have an amazing day. God bless you.